Hey there. Tonight, we're traveling back, way back, to a place they never taught you in school. Okay? Before you drift off, I want you to imagine something. It's the year Ichenibite, while medieval London huddles behind crumbling Roman walls with barely 15,000 souls. There's a city in North America, a massive city, larger than London, larger than Paris. Right there in what's now southern Illinois, Cahokia. You've probably never heard of it. Most people haven't, but at its peak, 20,000 people, maybe 30,000, lived around a massive earthen pyramid that dwarfed anything in Europe. They built over Ebite Urser's mounds, they traded across a continent, they practiced human sacrifice, they waged brutal wars, and you're about to live there, not as a tourist, not as an observer. You're going to wake up each morning in that ancient city, feel the Mississippi River's humid breath on your skin, hear the drums echoing across the Grand Plaza, and wonder, will you survive another day? So, dim the lights, get comfortable, and let me know in the comments, where are you watching from? What time is it there? Because tonight, we're going somewhere most historians forgot existed. Let's begin. You open your eyes before dawn. The air inside your wattle and daub house is thick and heavy, smelling of yesterday's fish and the clay-daubed walls that keep out the autumn chill. Through the gaps in the thatch roof, you can see the sky beginning to lighten, a pale gray that promises another day of labor. Your back aches from sleeping on the reed mat and your stomach growls. There's not much food left. The harvest was adequate, but not generous. You'll need to work today, like every day, to earn your share of the communal stores. Outside, you hear the first stirrings of your neighbors. Cahokia never truly sleeps. Even now, in the hours before sunrise, there are people moving, guards on the mounds, priests preparing for dawn rituals, and others, like you, who simply can't afford to rest any longer. You roll onto your side and look at your wife sleeping beside you, her face peaceful in the dim light. Your two children are curled together near the wall, their small bodies rising and falling with each breath. You push yourself up, your hands are calloused, your shoulders permanently hunched from years of hauling baskets of earth. You're a mound builder, not by choice, but by birth. Your father was a mound builder, his father before him. It's what your lineage does in this great city. You build the monuments that make Cahokia. And today, like most days, you'll carry earth until your legs shake and your vision blurs. You step outside into the pre-dawn darkness, and the scale of Cahokia hits you as it does every morning. Even after 30 years, it never stops being overwhelming. In the distance, perhaps half a mile away, Monk's Mound rises like a sleeping giant, its massive terraced platform catching the first hints of light. It's the largest earthwork in North America, though you don't know that. You only know that it took 4 generations to build, and it still isn't finished. Your grandfather helped build the second terrace. Your father worked on the third, and now you're hauling soil for the 4th and final level, where the great sun himself will live, closer to the sky than any man has ever lived before. Around you, the city is beginning to wake. Hundreds of houses, maybe thousands, spread in every direction, their thatched roofs forming a sea of darkness punctuated by the occasional cook fire beginning to glow. You can smell smoke and corn cooking and the ever-present scent of the Mississippi River, which curves around the city like a protective arm. In the distance, you hear a drum, then another. The priests are calling the dawn. You walk toward the communal fire pit at the center of your neighborhood plaza. Already, a dozen people are gathering, other mound builders, potters, a few of the tool makers, who craft the stone hoes and axes. Everyone looks tired. It's harvest season, but it's also building season. The great sun wants the mound finished before winter. That means double shifts, triple shifts sometimes. Collapsing from exhaustion. At the plaza, you receive your morning ration. A small bowl of corn porridge and a piece of dried fish. It's not much, but it's something. You eat quickly, squatting on your heels beside the fire with the others. Nobody talks much in the morning. What is there to say? The work is the work. You'll haul earth from the borrow pits until midday, rest briefly when the sun is highest, then haul earth until dusk. Tomorrow you'll do it again, and the day after that. Beside you, an older man named Running Deer coughs, a wet, rattling sound that makes you wince. He's been coughing for weeks now. In Cahokia, a cough like that usually means death within a season. The crowding, the damp air from the river, the smoke from thousands of cook fires, it all settles into people's lungs. Running Deer is maybe 45 winters old, ancient by Cahokia standards. Most people don't live past 40. They're bringing more workers from the outlying villages. Someone mutters. The great sun demands the mound be finished before the winter solstice ceremony. You nod. You've heard the rumors. Villages as far as 3 days' walk away are being ordered to send their strongest men and women. Some come willingly, hoping to earn favor with the great sun. Others come in chains. Cahokia is powerful. Cahokia is wealthy. But Cahokia is also hungry. Hungry for labor, hungry for resources, hungry for more and more and more. The work begins as the sun breaks the horizon. You join a line of perhaps 200 people, men, women, even some children, streaming toward the borrow pits south of Monk's Mound. These pits are massive excavations where earth has been removed, basket load by basket load, to build the great mound. They're so deep now that you need ladders to climb down into them. Water seeps up from below, making the bottom a muddy nightmare. Your feet will be wet all day. You grab your basket, a long, woven container that holds perhaps 30 pounds of earth when full, and descend into the pit. The ladder is slippery. 2 weeks ago, a woman fell from this very ladder and broke her back. She died 3 days later, screaming. No one talks about it. Death is so common in Cahokia that mourning has become almost perfunctory. At the bottom, you begin scooping earth with your hands, packing it into the basket. The mud is cold and gritty, full of small stones that cut your fingers. You work methodically, trying not to think about the fact that you'll do this hundreds of times today. Fill the basket, climb the ladder, walk to the mound, dump the earth, return to the pit. Fill the basket, climb the ladder, walk to the mound. Your mind goes blank. It's better that way. Thinking makes it worse. By mid-morning, you've made perhaps 40 trips. Your legs are shaking. The basket, when full, weighs more than a small child, and you're carrying it up a ladder, across uneven ground, up the ramps of the mound, and then down again. The ramps are steep, carved into the sides of the terraces, wide enough for 2 people to pass. They're worn smooth by thousands upon thousands of feet, and when it rains, they become treacherously slick. The man in front of you stumbles. His basket tips, spilling earth across the ramp. Immediately, an overseer, one of the great sun's warriors, is there shouting. The overseer carries a wooden club and isn't afraid to use it. You've seen him crack skulls for lesser infractions. The man scrambles to gather the spilled earth with his hands, terror on his face. The overseer watches, sneering, then moves on. The man is lucky today. You continue climbing. The higher you go, the better the view. From the top of Monk's Mound's 3rd terrace, you can see the entire city spread below, a vast metropolis of wooden buildings, plazas, smaller mounds, and thousands of people moving like ants. To the west, the Mississippi River glitters in the morning sun. To the east, woodlands stretch to the horizon. And everywhere, there is smoke, from cook fires, from pottery kilns, from the sacred fires that burn eternally in the temples. Cahokia is magnificent. Cahokia is terrifying. At midday, the drum sounds 3 times, the signal to rest. You set down your basket and collapse where you stand, not caring that you're sitting in mud. Around you, hundreds of other workers do the same. Some are crying, some are silent. Some, like you, just stare at nothing, too tired even to think. Your hands are bleeding. Your shoulders feel like they're on fire. Your feet are numb from the cold mud. Food is distributed, another small portion of corn porridge, this time with a few beans mixed in. You eat mechanically, forcing the food down even though you're too exhausted to feel hungry. Beside you, a young woman, maybe 18 winters, thmits her ration back up. She's been working for 3 days straight. Her body has nothing left to give. An overseer notices and barks at her to get back to work. She tries to stand and collapses. The overseer walks over, looks at her for a moment, then kicks her in the ribs. She doesn't make a sound. Get up, the overseer says, or you'll be left for the dogs. Okay. The woman somehow finds the strength to push herself to her knees. Blood trickles from her mouth. She reaches for her basket with shaking hands. You want to help her, but you can't. Helping her would mean drawing attention to yourself. In Cahokia, attention from an overseer is the last thing you want. The afternoon is worse than the morning. The sun beats down without mercy, turning the top of Monk's Mound into a furnace. Several people collapse from heat. One, an older man you don't know, doesn't get up. The overseers leave his body where it fell. They'll remove it tonight after the work is done. In the meantime, you and the others simply walk around the corpse. It's not the first time you've seen someone die on the mound. It won't be the last. Connie, your basket feels heavier with each trip. Your vision starts to blur. At one point, you nearly fall from the ladder, catching yourself at the last moment. Your heart pounds with terror. A fall from this height would kill you, or at least cripple you for life. And in Cahokia, being crippled means being useless. Useless people don't last long. By late afternoon, you've made perhaps 80 trips. Your hands are so torn that you can barely grip the basket handles. Blood mixes with mud and sweat, making everything slippery. You move in a daze, barely conscious, your body operating on instinct alone. Around you, the landscape has taken on a dreamlike quality. The faces of other workers seem to float past, disconnect. The drums sound distant, muffled, as if coming from underwater. You are breaking, but you cannot break. Not yet. Not if you want to live. Finally, as the sun touches the western horizon, the drums sound again, the signal to stop. You drop your basket where you stand and simply stand there, swaying slightly, unable to quite believe it's over. Around you, other workers are weeping with relief. Some are praying. Some have already collapsed. You force yourself to walk down the ramp, one careful step at a time. Your legs barely respond to your commands. At the base of the mound, there's a communal washing area, a series of shallow pools fed by a spring. You wade into the water, still wearing your breechcloth, and let the cold shock revive you slightly. The water around you turns red with blood from your hands. You dunk your head under, holding your breath, letting the water muffle the sounds of the world. For a moment there's peace, but only a moment. You surface, gasping, and reality crashes back. You still need to collect your evening ration. You still need to walk home. You still need to prepare for tomorrow. Because tomorrow you'll do it all again, and the day after, and the day after, until the mound is finished or until you're dead. Whichever comes first. You wade out of the washing pool and join the line for evening rations. Your hands shake so badly you can barely hold the bowl they give you. You walk home through the darkening city, moving through crowds of people finishing their own work. Days. Cahokia at dusk is a different world. The plazas fill with traders selling the day's catch of fish, craftspeople displaying pottery and tools, children playing games in the dirt. For a moment, you can almost forget the brutality of the mound building. Almost. But then you pass the great plaza, the massive open space at the center of Cahokia, larger than several football fields, and you remember where you really are. At the north end of the plaza stand the sacred posts, the sun circle, a massive wooden henge that marks the solstices and equinoxes. You've seen ceremonies there. Hundreds of people gathered to watch the priests and the great sun himself commune with the sky powers. You've seen the sacrifices too. The screaming. Your house is in the southern residential district, about a mile from Monk's Mount. By the time you reach it, full darkness has fallen. You can barely see the door. Inside, your wife has kept a small fire going. Your children are already asleep. She looks at your hands and winces. "Sit," she says softly. "I'll clean them." You sit, and she brings warm water and strips of cloth. As she gently washes the blood and mud away, you stare into the fire and wonder how much longer you can keep doing this. Tondulant. You wake in the middle of the night to the sound of drums. Not the work drums. These are different, deeper, more ominous. Your wife is already sitting up, fear on her face, "Raiders," she whispers. You feel your stomach drop. Cahokia is powerful, but it has enemies, many enemies. Villages to the north and west resent Cahokia's dominance, its demands for tribute, its insatiable appetite for resources. Sometimes they fight back. You crawl to the doorway and peer out. In the distance, you can see flames rising near the northern palisade, the massive wooden wall that surrounds the central city. Shouts echo across the darkness. The warriors are mobilizing. You're not a warrior. Your father wasn't a warrior. Earth carriers don't fight, but that doesn't mean you're safe. Raiders don't always discriminate. And your wife pulls the children close. "Should we run?" she asks. You shake your head. Running in the darkness would be suicide. Better to stay hidden, stay quiet, and pray the warriors drive the raiders off before they breach the palisade. You pull a wooden club from the corner, your only weapon, barely more than a stick, and position yourself in front of your family. The drums continue. The flames grow higher, and you wait, heart pounding, wondering if this is the night Cahokia falls. The raid lasts until dawn. By the time the sun rises, the fires have been extinguished, but smoke still hangs over the northern district. You venture outside carefully, club still in hand. Your neighbors are emerging too, faces pale with fear. Word spreads quickly through the residential areas. The raiders breached the palisade in 2 places before being driven back. 37 people are dead, mostly warriors, but also some civilians caught in the wrong place. 5 houses burned, dozens more damaged. You make your way toward the Grand Plaza, where people are gathering for news. The great sun is nowhere to be seen. He remains in his temple atop Monk's Mound, as always. But his speaker, a man named White Thunder, stands on a raised platform addressing the crowd. "The enemies of Cahokia grow bold," he announces, his voice carrying across the plaza. "They think we are weak. They are wrong. The great sun demands retribution. Warriors will be sent north. Villages will burn. And here in Cahokia we will build higher walls, stronger defenses. The mound must be finished faster. Sun must rise higher, where he can see all threats and rain down the sun's fire upon our enemies." The crowd murmurs. You know what this means: more work, longer hours, higher quotas. The raid has just made your life worse. Around you, people's faces reflect the same grim realization. The new quotas are announced that afternoon. Instead of filling and carrying 80 baskets per day, you're now expected to carry 100. The workday is extended. You must begin before dawn and continue until full darkness. Rest periods are shortened. Food rations remain the same. The math is brutal and simple. You'll be working harder, longer, and eating the same amount. Your body, already pushed to its limits, will have to find strength that doesn't exist. And that evening, as you sit by your fire trying to eat your meager ration, your wife speaks quietly. "My brother sent word from the outlying villages," she says. "They're taking every able man for the war party against the northern tribes. Some villages have been emptied almost entirely of men." She pauses, then adds even more quietly, "Some people are running, fleeing to the west where Cahokia's reach doesn't extend." You look at her sharply. Talk of fleeing is dangerous. The Great Sun's ears are everywhere. Informants, spies, people desperate enough to trade information for extra rations. "Don't speak of such things," you say. But even as you say it, the idea takes root in your mind. What if you left? What if you took your family and disappeared into the western forests? You could find a small village, start over, live without the constant threat of death from exhaustion or violence. But then reality intrudes. You've never been more than a day's walk from Cahokia. The world beyond is unknown, dangerous, full of its own threats. 3 days later, during the midday rest, Running Deer doesn't wake up. He sits down against a pile of earth, closes his eyes, and simply stops breathing. You're sitting nearby when it happens. One moment he's alive, the next he's gone. No drama, no struggle. His body just gave up. He's the 4th person to die on the mound this week. The overseers barely notice anymore. That night, there's a funeral ceremony for Running Deer and the others who died. It's held in a small plaza near the residential district, led by a minor priest. The bodies are wrapped in woven mats and placed on wooden platforms. Tomorrow they'll be carried to the burial mounds west of the city and interred with some small offerings. A pot, maybe a tool, nothing valuable. Running Deer's family weeps quietly. You stand with your own family, watching, thinking about how easily that could be you on the platform. The priest speaks about the cycle of life and death, about how those who serve Cahokia faithfully will be rewarded in the next world. He talks about the Great Sun's wisdom and generosity. He talks about how the mound is not just a building but a sacred mountain, a bridge between earth and sky. You've heard it all before. The words mean nothing when you're too exhausted to stand. After the ceremony, you walk home in silence, your wife's hand in yours. The raids continue sporadically over the next weeks. Sometimes you hear the drums at night. Sometimes you wake to find that another section of the city has been attacked. More houses burned, more people dead. The northern tribes are becoming bolder, testing Cahokia's defenses, probing for weakness. In response, the Great Sun orders the construction of a second palisade and outer wall that will encircle even more of the city. This means more labor, more earth to be moved, more logs to be cut and transported and erected. You're reassigned to palisade construction for 2 weeks. It's different from mound building, but no less brutal. You and crews of other workers must dig massive post holes, each one 6 feet deep and 2 feet across, in the hard-packed earth. You use deer antler picks and wooden shovels. Your hands, barely healed from the mound work, are torn open again. The post holes must be perfectly aligned, perfectly spaced. Overseers measure constantly. Any mistake results in beatings. Once the holes are dug, massive logs, cypress trees hauled from swamps miles away, must be lifted and dropped into place. Each log weighs more than 10 men. It takes coordinated effort, dozens of workers pulling ropes, priests chanting to keep the rhythm. You've seen logs slip and crush people beneath them. You've learned to watch carefully, to always know where the escape routes are. During palisade work, you meet a man from one of the outlying villages. His name is Grey Wolf, and he was brought to Cahokia in chains after his village failed to provide sufficient tribute. He works beside you in the post holes, and during the brief rest periods he talks. My village was peaceful, he says quietly. We farmed, we hunted, we bothered no one. But Cahokia wanted half our harvest. Then, when we couldn't pay, they wanted our labor. Now they've taken everything. My wife and daughters are somewhere in this city, working in the pottery kilns. My sons were taken for the war parties. I don't even know if they're alive. You say nothing. What can you say? Grey Wolf's story is common. Cahokia's power extends for hundreds of miles in every direction, sustained by a network of tribute and coercion. The great sun sits atop his, but beneath him is a vast apparatus of control. Warriors who enforce his will, priests who justify it with religious doctrine, and workers like you who make it all physically possible. Decisive tu Hevrastasi signature for leaving, you wolf. Do you ever think about leaving? Grey Wolf asks suddenly. You tense. This is dangerous talk. But when you look at him, you see that he doesn't care about danger anymore. He's already lost everything. Where would we go, you ask? Grey Wolf smiles bitterly. Anywhere. Anywhere but here, that night. You can't sleep. Grey Wolf's words echo in your mind. You lie on your mat, listening to your family breathe, and you think about what freedom might look like. A small house by a river. A field you farm for yourself, not for the great sun's storehouses. Children who grow up without seeing death every day. It seems impossible, like a dream of flying. But then you think about the practicalities. You'd need food for the journey, at least a week's worth, maybe more. You'd need weapons for hunting and defense. You'd need to know where you're going. And most importantly, you'd need to leave without anyone noticing. The great sun has spies everywhere. People who flee Cahokia are hunted down and brought back. The punishment for desertion is public execution. You're tied to posts in the Grand Plaza and beaten to death with clubs while the entire city watches. You've seen it twice. Your wife shifts beside you. You're thinking about leaving, she whispers. It's not a question. You say nothing, but she knows. If we go, she continues, we go together, all of us. I won't be separated from the children. You nod in the darkness. I don't know if I'm brave enough, you admit. She takes your hand. Neither do I, she says. But I know I can't watch you work yourself to death, either. Better to die trying to escape than to die here, carrying someone else's earth. Over the next week, you begin gathering supplies. It must be done carefully, gradually, so as not to attract attention. An extra handful of cornmeal, hidden in a clay pot buried beneath your house. A stone knife, borrowed from the tool-making area. A water skin, obtained by trading your only extra breechcloth. Each item is small, but together they represent possibility. You share your plans with no one except your wife. Not even your children know. Children talk, and talk is death. You also watch the guard patterns. The palisade is complete now, with gates at the 4 cardinal directions. The gates are guarded day and night, but the guards change at dawn and dusk. There are moments of confusion during the changeover, brief windows when attention lapses. That would be your opportunity. You'd need to time it perfectly, and you'd need a reason to be near the gates at dawn. Mound workers leave from the southern residential areas. Gate workers leave from the northern areas. You'd be going the wrong direction. Grey Wolf approaches you one day at the borrow pits. I'm leaving tomorrow, he whispers. At dawn, the western gate. If you want to come, be there. Your heart pounds. Tomorrow? So soon? You're not ready. But then you'll never really be ready. How many? You ask. 5 families, he says. Maybe 30 people total. There's safety in numbers. You nod slowly. I'll think about it, you say, but you both know you've already decided. That night, you tell your wife. Her face goes pale, then determined. Tomorrow, she repeats. We need to wake the children before dawn. They'll need to be quiet, completely quiet. You nod. Your children are 6 and 9, old enough to understand danger, but young enough that fear might make them cry out. You'll need to prepare them carefully. Tell them it's a game, your wife suggests. Tell them we're sneaking out to surprise someone. Make it fun, not scary. It's a good idea, but you both know that once they understand what's really happening, the fear will come. You spend the evening preparing. Your wife packs what little food you've gathered into a small basket. You sharpen the stone knife. You check and recheck the hidden supplies. Every sound outside makes you jump. What if someone has informed on Grey Wolf's group? What if the overseers are coming now to arrest everyone before the attempt? But the night passes without incident. The city falls into its usual uneasy sleep, punctuated by distant drums, barking dogs, the eternal murmur of the river. You don't sleep. You lie in the darkness, running through the plan again and again. Approach the western gate during the guard change. Grey Wolf will create a distraction, a fight maybe, or a fire. In the confusion, the families will slip through. Once outside the palisade, they'll scatter and regroup at a predetermined location 2 miles west. So many things could go wrong. Dawn comes too soon and not soon enough. You wake your children in the darkness before the first light. Your daughter, the younger one, starts to ask questions, but your wife quickly explains the game. They're going to sneak through the city without anyone seeing them, just like hunters stalking deer. The children's eyes go wide with excitement. Your son, older and wiser, looks at you with understanding beyond his years. He knows this isn't a game, but he says nothing, just nods and takes his sister's hand. You slip out of your house just as the sky begins to lighten. The city is stirring, but not yet awake. A few early risers are visible, but they pay you no attention. Families walking about before dawn isn't unusual. You move through the residential district, heading north and west. Your heart hammers so hard you're sure everyone can hear it. Your wife carries the basket. You carry your daughter, keeping your hand over her mouth gently, ready to silence her if needed. Your son walks beside you, silent as a ghost. As you approach the western gate, you see other families converging from different directions. Grey Wolf is there, along with his companions, a mix of laborers, craftspeople, and a few from the conquered villages. Maybe 25 people total. The guards at the gate are just beginning their changeover. And then Grey Wolf gives the signal. The distraction is perfect. One of Grey Wolf's group, a young man you don't know, suddenly staggers forward, screaming that he's been bitten by a snake. He collapses near the gate, thrashing and moaning. The guards converge on him, concerned and confused. And in that moment, Grey Wolf's group moves, not running. That would attract attention, but walking quickly, purposefully, as if they have every right to leave the city. You follow, your family tight around you, your heart in your throat. You pass through the gate, just like that. One step, then another, and suddenly you're outside the palisade. The forest is there, 50 yards ahead. You want to run, but Grey Wolf has warned everyone. Walk until you're out of sight. Then run. You walk, every step in agony of restraint. Your daughter squirms in your arms. Your son's breathing is rapid and shallow. Your wife's face is dead white. Behind you, you hear a shout. Have they been discovered? But no one pursues. Not yet. You reach the tree line. And then you run. All of you, running through the dawn forest, branches whipping at your faces, roots trying to trip you. Your daughter is crying now, scared by the sudden violence of movement. Your son stumbles but catches himself. Your wife gasps for breath. And behind you, somewhere in the distance, you hear drums. They know. They're coming. You run for what feels like hours, but is probably only minutes. Your lungs burn. Your legs turn to water. Your daughter's weight becomes unbearable. Finally, Grey Wolf, who's ahead, signals everyone to stop. You collapse behind a fallen log, gasping, trying to silence your heaving breaths. The entire group is there. No one was left behind. That's something. That's a miracle, actually. They'll send trackers, Grey Wolf says quietly. We need to split up. Smaller groups are harder to follow. He's right. A group of 25 people leaves an obvious trail. But splitting up means losing the safety of numbers. You look at your family, your exhausted wife, your terrified children, and you know you can't protect them alone. Grey Wolf sees your expression. Take 2 other families, he suggests. 9 or 10 people. That's defensible, but not too visible. You nod. 2 other families join you. A middle-aged couple with 1 teenage son, and a young couple without children. You don't know their names, and there's no time for introductions. Grey Wolf points west. Follow the sun. Stay in the forest. Avoid rivers. They'll search along waterways first. Find a village far from Cahokia's influence. Tell them you're refugees from the north. Don't mention Cahokia. And then he's gone, leading his own group southwest. You're on your own. Travel west for 3 days. You move during early morning and late evening, hiding during midday when Cahokia's trackers are most active. You drink from small streams, eat the dried corn and smoked fish you brought, and supplement it with whatever you can forage, nuts, roots, occasional small game. Your stone knife, primitive as it is, proves invaluable. The teenage boy in your group, his name is Crowsong, knows how to set snares. He catches 2 rabbits on the 2nd day. You share the meat among the 9 people. It's barely enough, but it's something your children adapt surprisingly well. They're hungry and tired and scared, but they're resilient in the way only children can be. Your daughter stops crying after the 1st day. Your son becomes hyper-alert, pointing out potential dangers, tracks in the mud, broken branches, distant sounds. He's growing up fast, too fast, but that's what survival requires. Okay? On the 3rd evening, you reach a river too wide to cross without swimming. The middle-aged man, his name is Stone Hand, suggests building a raft. We don't have tools, you point out. We have hands and rope, he counters. He's right. You spend the night gathering saplings and vines, lashing together a crude platform. By dawn, you have something that might float. The river is cold and fast, but you have no choice. You load the children and the supplies onto the raft and push off. The crossing is a nightmare. The raft barely holds together. Water pours through the gaps between saplings. Your daughter screams as the current catches the raft and spins it. Your son grips the vines with white knuckles. Stone Hand and his son are in the water, pushing and guiding. You're on the raft, trying to keep everyone from falling off. The young couple are swimming alongside, their faces terrified. Halfway across, one of the vines breaks. The raft lurches sideways. For a horrible moment, you think it's going to disintegrate completely. But somehow it holds. Stone Hand's son, a strong swimmer, manages to grab the loose section and hold it together with his bare hands. The current carries you downstream, far from where you wanted to land, but eventually the raft scrapes against the far bank. You haul everyone onto solid ground and collapse. You've lost some of your supplies, a basket of food swept away in the crossing, but everyone is alive. That's what matters. Stone Hand's son's hands are torn and bleeding from gripping the vines. Your wife binds them with strips torn from her dress. The group sits in silence for a long time, too exhausted even to speak, watching the river flow past. Cahokia can't track us across water, the young woman says finally. Her name is Bright Moon. You nod. We're safe from trackers, you agree. But now we're deeper in the wilderness than any of us have ever been. For the next week, you travel deeper into the western forests. The land here is different from the country around Cahokia. Hillier, more rugged, with older trees and less evidence of human activity. You see signs of isolated homesteads occasionally, cleared fields, hunting trails, but you avoid them. Trust is dangerous when you're fugitives. You don't know who might send word back to Cahokia. The food situation becomes desperate. Your supplies are gone. Crow Song's snares catch only one more rabbit. You find mushrooms, but none of you are certain which ones are safe. Your children are constantly hungry. Your daughter cries herself to sleep each night. Your son has stopped talking much, conserving his energy. You're all losing weight rapidly. On the 8th day, you encounter other people. A hunting party, 5 men armed with bows and spears. They speak a language similar to yours, but with different intonations. They're clearly surprised to see you. You raise your hands in peace. Stone Hand, who has traveled more than the rest of you, steps forward and speaks slowly. We are refugees from the east. We seek shelter. We will work for food. The hunters confer among themselves. Finally, their leader, a scarred man with gray in his hair, nods. Our village is 2 days north. You will come with us. The elders will decide. It's not exactly a warm welcome, but it's better than starvation. The village is small, maybe 30 houses, a few hundred people total. It sits in a valley beside a clear stream, surrounded by fields of corn and squash. After the chaos and scale of Cahokia, it seems almost impossibly peaceful. The hunters lead you to the central plaza, where the village elders gather to examine you. The villagers stare openly, especially at your tattoos. They know what those markings mean. They know where you're from. Okay? The head elder is an old woman with white hair and knowing eyes. She speaks through Stone Hand, who acts as translator. You come from the great city to the east, she says. It's not a question, you nod. We do not love that city, she continues. They have taken tribute from us. They have taken our children for their mounds. But we do not make war. We are too small, too weak. We survive by being invisible. You understand what she's not saying. Your presence here is dangerous. If Cahokia discovers that this village harbors refugees, they might send warriors. The village might be destroyed. We will not stay long, you say through Stone Hand. We only need food and rest. We only need food and rest. Then we will move on. The old woman studies you for a long moment. You have children, she says finally. Children should not starve because of adult politics. You may stay 1 season. Earn your food through work. When spring comes, you must go. Where, I do not care. But not here. You're given a small house on the edge of the village. Barely more than a shelter, but it's yours. The villagers provide you with enough food to stop the hunger pangs, corn, dried fish, some root vegetables. That first night, sleeping on a reed mat with a full stomach, you cry. Your wife cries. Your children sleep peacefully for the first time in weeks. You're safe for now. The next day, the work begins. It's harvest season here too, and they need every hand. You're sent to the fields to help bring in the corn. It's hard work, but nothing like mound building. No overseers with clubs, no impossible quotas, no death hovering at every moment. You work from dawn to dusk, but you eat 3 meals. You sleep in a house. Your children play with the village children. It's normal, blessedly, impossibly normal. Over the following weeks, you begin to heal. The wounds on your hands finally close properly. The constant exhaustion fades. You put on a little weight. Your children laugh again. Your wife smiles. And slowly, very slowly, you begin to believe that you might actually survive. That leaving Cahokia wasn't a death sentence after all. That freedom, real freedom, exists. But you also know this is temporary. Spring will come, and then you'll have to move again, find somewhere permanent. But for now, for this winter, you have peace. Winter comes. The village settles into its cold season rhythms. Work shifts from fields to indoor tasks, making tools, repairing houses, weaving baskets and cloth. You prove useful at working stone. Your years of using picks and hoes have given you skills the villagers value. You make knife blades, scrapers, and hoe heads. In return, the village feeds your family. It's a fair exchange, and more importantly, it's voluntary. No one forces you. No one threatens you. If the work isn't done today, it will be done tomorrow. The difference is staggering. Your children begin to learn the village language, picking it up faster than you or your wife can. Your daughter makes friends with a local girl her age. Your son helps the hunters occasionally, learning to track and use a bow. They're becoming part of this community in ways you never could have imagined back in Cahokia. Sometimes you watch them play and wonder if they'll even remember the city. Part of you hopes they won't, but memory is persistent. You still wake sometimes in the night, heart pounding, dreaming of overseers and drums and endless baskets of earth. Your wife has similar nightmares. The trauma of Okia doesn't fade just because you've escaped. It's carved into your bones. Still, each day gets a little easier. Each day the memories hurt a little less. During long winter evenings, sitting by your fire, you and your wife talk about the future. Where you go when spring comes? News reaches the village in late winter. Traders from the east bring word Cahokia is in turmoil. The raids from the north intensified. Several outlying villages rebelled, refusing to send tribute. The Great Sun ordered massive military campaigns, draining the city's resources. Then, in the dead of winter, disease struck. Hundreds died, maybe thousands. The traders speak of mass graves, of bodies burned in great pyres, of entire neighborhoods abandoned. Cahokia, they say, is weakening, not collapsing. Not yet, but definitely weakening. You listen to this news with complex emotions. Part of you feels vindicated. The system that nearly killed you is failing. But another part feels grief. Cahokia, despite everything, was your home. Your parents are buried there. Your ancestors built those mounds. The city's monuments represent generations of labor, of human ambition and achievement. However brutal, to hear that it's dying feels like watching a part of yourself die. Many have fled, one trader says, like you did. The villages to the west are full of refugees now. Some have formed new communities. Others have joined existing villages. The world is changing. He looks at you meaningfully. The Great Sun's power is not infinite. Perhaps it never was, Ken. That night you hold your wife and think about what this means. You escaped not into an uncertain future, but into a new world that's already forming. A world beyond Cahokia's reach. Spring arrives with early warmth and budding trees. As promised, it's time to leave the village. The elders give you supplies for the journey, dried food, new clothing, even a small copper blade, far superior to your stone knife. It's more than generous. You worked well, the old woman elder tells you. You honored our agreement. We wish you well, she pauses, then adds, the world is larger than Cahokia. Remember that. Stone Hand and his family decide to stay in the village. They've become integrated, and the elders have offered them permanent residence. Crow Song has asked permission to marry a local girl, and her family has agreed. The young couple, Bright Moon and her husband, are continuing west. They want to find land far from any large settlement. They've had enough of cities for a lifetime. You and your family decide to go north. The traders spoke of new communities forming along the Great River. Valleys, places where refugees from various cities are building something different. Not the hierarchical, brutal systems of places like Cahokia, but looser confederations of free villages. It sounds almost utopian, but after what you've experienced, you need to believe in something better. Your children are sad to leave. They've made friends here. But they're also excited for new adventure. They're resilient. They'll adapt. You leave the village at dawn, traveling light, heading north toward an uncertain but hopeful future. The journey north takes several weeks. The land is gentler here, with rolling hills and wide river valleys. You encounter other travelers, small groups, family units, sometimes lone individuals. Many are refugees like you, fleeing from Cahokia or other large centers. Some are simply wanderers, people who've chosen a mobile life over settled existence. The atmosphere is different from what you knew. People are cautious but not hostile. Information is shared freely. No one claims ownership of the land or demands tribute for passage. You reach one of the new communities the traders mentioned. It's barely a village yet. Maybe 15 families living in temporary shelters around a bend in a river. But they're building. You see people working together on a longhouse, others clearing fields. When you arrive, a council meets to consider whether to accept your family. The process is surprisingly democratic. Each family has a voice, and decisions are made by consensus rather than decree. We need people, one of the council members says, but we need people who understand cooperation, not domination. Can you work without overseers? Can you share without being forced? You assure them you can. More than that, you desperately want to. The idea of building something based on mutual aid rather than coercion is intoxicating. They accept you. Your family becomes the 16th in this nascent community. Together, you start building a real house. Life in the new community is unlike anything you've known. Decisions are made in council, with everyone participating. Work is organized collectively. When someone needs help building a house, everyone contributes. When crops are harvested, the food is shared equitably. There are no overseers, no great son, no hierarchy beyond the respect naturally given to elders and those with particular skills. At first, you keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. Surely someone will claim authority. Surely violence will be used to enforce order. But it doesn't happen. People cooperate because cooperation serves everyone's interest. You learn new skills. A woman named Willow teaches your wife advanced pottery techniques. A man named Bear Hunter teaches you to make better bows. Your children attend informal teaching sessions where elders share knowledge about plants, animals, seasons, and stories. There's no formal structure, but education happens organically. Your son is fascinated by star watching and spends evenings with an elder who knows the patterns of the night sky. Your daughter loves music and learns to play a reed flute. You also participate in governance. Every seventh day, the entire community gathers to discuss issues and make decisions. Your voice counts equally with everyone else's. The first time you speak at council, suggesting a change in how the communal garden is organized, and people actually listen, actually implement your idea, you almost can't believe it. This is what it means to be free. Summer brings its own challenges. The crops need constant attention. A drought threatens the harvest. The community must decide whether to dig irrigation channels or relocate the fields closer to the river. The council debates for days. Some want to dig channels. It's more work now, but long-term benefit. Others want to move the fields. It's disruptive, but lower risk. You listen to the arguments, learning how decisions are made through persuasion rather than force. Eventually, a compromise is reached. Dig small channels for the current fields while also clearing new plots nearer the river. It will mean more work for everyone, but it spreads the risk. You participate in both projects. The channel digging reminds you viscerally of your days in the borrow pits at Cahokia, but the crucial difference is that you're doing this for yourself and your community, not for a distant ruler. When you're tired, you rest. When you need water, you drink. When you finish, you feel proud. rather than just relieved to have survived. By late summer, the channels are flowing and the crops are saved. The harvest is good, not abundant, but sufficient. The community celebrates with a feast. There's dancing, music, storytelling. Your children dance with the other children. Your wife laughs for the first time in years. You sit with Bear Hunter and other men, sharing food and conversation, and you realize this is what life was supposed to be. Crisis. You listen to this news with sadness. Whatever Cahokia's brutalities, it was a great achievement. Those mounds represented the coordinated effort of thousands of people across generations. The city demonstrated what humans could build when they worked together at scale. But it also demonstrated the terrible cost of that achievement when it was built on coercion rather than cooperation. Cahokia failed not because cooperation at scale is impossible, but because the particular system of Cahokia was unsustainable and unjust. Could we build something like Cahokia here? Someone asks at council that night. Without the cruelty, the community debates, some say yes, with the right principles, large-scale cooperation is possible. Others say size itself breeds hierarchy and oppression. Still others point out that they're not trying to build a great city. They're just trying to live well and live free. Maybe that's enough. The debate continues long into the night, but no consensus is reached, and that's okay. The community doesn't need to agree on everything. Just on how to disagree peacefully. Winter arrives again, your second winter of freedom. The community is more established now. The houses are weatherproof. The storage pits are full. People know each other's rhythms and quirks. You've become friends with several families. Your children are fully bilingual, and your daughter is teaching you the subtle grammatical structures you keep missing. Your son has his first serious hunting success, a young deer, which he shares with the community as is customary. You swell with pride watching him present his kill to the council. He's becoming a man, but not the kind of man Cahokia would have made him. He's strong, skilled, but also gentle. He makes decisions through consensus with his peers. He understands that power comes from respect, not fear. One evening, sitting by your fire, your wife asks, "Do you ever miss it?" Cahokia? You consider the question seriously. I miss some things, you admit. The scale, the sense of being part of something vast, the monuments that will last centuries. You pause. But I don't miss the cost. I don't miss the terror. I don't miss watching people die for someone else's glory. She nods. I miss my mother's grave, she says quietly. I wish I could visit it, but I wouldn't trade our children's freedom for that visit. You understand completely. Memory is important. Honoring the dead is important. But the living matter more. And your children are alive and free and happy. That's worth everything. Spring comes again. The third spring of your new life. The community gathers for the spring planting ceremony. Unlike Cahokia's elaborate rituals led by priests, this ceremony is simpler but more participatory. Everyone speaks a blessing over the seeds. Children scatter offerings of dried flowers. An elder tells stories about the cycles of growth and renewal. You add your own blessing, thanking the earth for sustaining your family, for giving you a place to root after so much displacement. And after the ceremony, you walk to the river with your family. Your daughter plays in the shallows. Your son practices spearfishing. Your wife sits beside you on the bank, her hand in yours. We made it, she says softly. You nod. We made it. You think about the journey, from the brutal labor of Cahokia, through the desperate flight, the starving weeks in the wilderness, the temporary refuge in the first village, and finally here where you're building something new. Not a great city that will last centuries, maybe just a small community that will last a generation or two. But it's built on freedom, on cooperation, on mutual care. And that makes it greater than any monument. The sun is warm on your face. The river flows past, constant and eternal. Your children are laughing. Your wife is smiling, and you are free. After everything, after all the suffering and struggle, you are finally, truly free. And that's enough. More than enough. It's everything. And so tonight, as you drift towards sleep in your own comfortable bed, far from ancient struggles, remember this: freedom is never free. It's earned through courage, through sacrifice, through the willingness to walk away from systems that destroy the human spirit, even when walking away means facing the unknown. The man whose story you followed found his freedom. His children grew up knowing cooperation instead of coercion. The community he helped build may have lasted a generation, or many generations, or perhaps it still echoes in the values of people today. Sweet dreams, you are safe, you are free. Rest now.